Okay, hi again. I'm showing you the end of an oak drawer. To look at these dovetails, I can go into a conversation with you sometime about how dovetails are cut. You can cut them by hand, or you can use a jig and a router, which is a power tool. Sounds like fun, but power tools can quickly get away on you, and there are a lot of things that can go wrong when something is spinning a million times a second, right? So cutting with a handsaw is sometimes a better approach because you can stop and check out your work. However, I went with the fun way and used the power tool here with the router. So I wanted to show you these because the topic today, I guess, is precision, right, and planning. And these dovetails show a varied amount of precision. Some are very precise, others are a little bit off because I'm not an expert, but I try every day, right? So here's the deal. You can see some there, and the light is a little poor, so I got this, I'll show you. I got this light, which I always use this to make sure I take a very close look at my work. And let's see if you can take a close look at my work. So this is the front of the drawer, the taller part. I'll show you the drawer in a minute. This video can get long if I keep going, but anyway, you can see the dovetails, and the goal is that there's no gap between this board and this board, and those are very difficult to make. Yeah, let me come back to that. So anyway, these are just like perfect. However, look down at the bottom. Your Uncle Dan is not perfect there. The light shows a little better that way. That there's a little funny look right down here. See it? Yeah. So here's the deal. When I was using the router, the bit was spinning and then tore out of the wood, right? So everything was perfect here except for that bottom one. And so I needed to fix that. So I fixed that with, and I don't know if I ever sent you the video, but I fixed it with, fixed it with some epoxy. Yeah, see that thing stuck there? It's just a stick on a plate with epoxy glue. And I mixed up some sawdust and oil, the oil that I'm going to be using to finish this thing. Mix it up with a little brush. The brush is hard now. And I took the sawdust oil mixture, mixed it with the epoxy mixture, and then I filled that spot at the bottom, right? So I was doing the best I could, and maybe it'll darken a little bit once the oil is put on. But I want to show you that once you sand all that down, and then on the back, you can see those two. Pretty good. They're a little dark at the top. You can see a little dark there, a little dark there. That is the epoxy mixture that I use to fill in the gaps there. So once you sand that down and it's flush, I mean, that's how it's going to be. But I'm going to show you, I'm going to set the light down. I'm going to show you by taking some mineral spirits, and that is spelled backwards given the way the camera is angled, and a rag. There's a rag. You're going to see how this is going to all blend in. This is no excuse for sloppy work, okay? That's not what I'm trying to say here. But because the dark areas, specifically over here, are on the end grain, see the end, this board comes to an end, and this board does not, right? The ends are hidden on this board. But because you're seeing the end grain of this board, that will always be darker. Not only currently, but when you put an oil on it, it really was going to dark. So here's my mineral oil on a rag. Check it out. Not bad. I mean, some real woodworking skeptic is going to look real closely at that and say, you are imperfect. And I will be the first to tell them, yes I am. But I try every day. So I'm just wiping this other end too, so that you can see how things look, and I can too actually, because I hadn't seen it yet. But mineral oil is a nice way to just kind of get a look into the future, right? So I'm going to be oiling this thing, and I want to be sure that things look good before I apply any oil to it. Otherwise, what's the right word in Spanish for you're screwed? That's what would happen if I put oil on it too early. So you got to make sure it's all perfect before you go ahead and start with the oil. And I am several days away from starting with oil. So look, with this light, you can still see that little botch job there at the bottom, right, of the front, the bottom of the front. But look at the back. The back is pretty. You can still see it because I talked to you about it. But if I wouldn't have, you probably wouldn't have even noticed that. And honestly, if you look at that, you know, when I open the drawer and you say, look at that bottom goof up, I'm probably going to escort you out of the house. So I'm going to also show you this other side. These are the other ones, and these are even better. So take time, do a good job, measure a dozen times, and then cut once. It's a little excessive. You're never going to get anything done, just like your Uncle Dan, if you do it that way. But check it out. This cleans off all the sawdust, and it raises the grain so that you can see. It raises the grain of the wood, right? So all these little grains were laying flat before, now they're like, and so it gives you a look at what other work you might need to do for it to look pretty. I'm telling you, it's looking pretty. So there it is. Get a little bit at the top here. Hang tight. I'm gonna set this drawer off to the side. Give you a look at that. Pretty. We can talk more about what causes these rays and stuff. This is quarter sawn white oak. Quarter sawn is what causes these rays. But we can talk more about that another time. I'm going to show you one more sign of evidence that you practice to aim for very precise dovetails. 1 second. Dude, let me tell you, if you think your Uncle Dan just woke up one day and made those in a jiffy, you're absolutely wrong. There's a practice one. 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 These are more practice pieces. These are more practice pieces. Practice pieces. Practice, practice, practice pieces. Practice pieces. Practice pieces. Do you get the idea? Practice, practice, practice. Those are all practice pieces, okay? So go slow, figure it out. Don't ever plan to get done rapidly or you're gonna screw something up. And always perfect your craft on some cheaper stuff before you go to the beautiful quarter sawn white oak, which I will caress softly.